The MoneroTopia weekly news segment is sponsored by WizardSwap.io, a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange.
Tony.
Hey guys, what's up? Happy weekend.
Happy weekend, man. Happy weekend.
So we have quite a bunch of people watching right now. 49 on YouTube and 284 on X. So guys, if you haven't liked, please do. That helps a lot. And we hit 10K on YouTube.
Nice. Finally.
Guys,
we need the sound effects here. I like my other soundboard. I used to have a sound effect.
I got something here.
Yeah, so I think we gained
we got to up the production.
There we go. It's very low quality.
Yeah, that didn't really work too well. Come on, now that we're at 10K subscribers, we got to up our production value around here. No more excuses.
I need to get a soundboard. Yeah, I was. I posted earlier this week, people to subscribe. Hopefully, it actually worked.
Yeah, so that's big, guys. Up to 100K from now. We hit 10K, up to 100K.
MoneroTopia YouTube channel to the moon.
The MoneroTopia. Yeah, so we have a lot of stuff to discuss on the news section. A lot of stuff. I mean, with Monero, crypto, and we'll discuss about the rise of extremism around the world, which is interesting. I didn't think that it was going to happen, but let me share my screen.
Get into it.
Let's see. Let's start with this one. And actually before, so just like Buddy said, guys, now you may make life-changing money. You may 2x, 3x, 4x, whatever the case might be. And just be careful. Set a stop loss if you can. Personally, I wasn't being careful at all, and I lost tens of thousands a couple of years ago, like in 2021. So just be careful and take what the market gave you, set stop losses if you can. And when it comes to Monero, price is very, very important. If it goes up a lot, hopefully in the future, is good for us because it's a sign of usage. And then once the price goes up to a good amount, maybe we're going to get more people invest a lot more money in, like millions of dollars and numbers as such. So let's start with full chain membership proofs. That's really, really awesome stuff. So we're going to watch a 2-minute video of FCMP. It boosts the sender privacy by expanding the anonymity set from 16 to 100 million plus, eliminating vulnerabilities in ring signatures. So let's go ahead and watch this video. Okay.
Full chain membership proofs promise the most significant privacy enhancement for sender privacy in Monero's history. Monero's original design protects transactions being sent with ring signatures. The ring signature conceals the real spend among 15 decoy spends that the wallet pulls from the blockchain. A node verifies the transaction's authenticity without knowing which spend is real or a decoy, while chain analysis companies observe the ring signature in action. The chain analysis company knows that the ring signature contains a real spend. Thus, with access to large databases, such as those from Know Your Customer centralized exchanges, they can track ring signatures linked to marked spends, known as poisoned outputs. Although ring signatures provide strong privacy guarantees, vulnerabilities arise from extensive metadata collections, potentially leading to outcomes like EAE attacks or co-spend transactions, where a chain analysis company can, with reasonable probability, identify the real spend. Full chain membership proofs aim to eliminate these vulnerabilities for senders. With this protocol, the spent output could be any output on the blockchain. This effectively expands the transaction's anonymity set from 1 of 16 to 1 of over 100 million. This dramatic increase in privacy will apply to every transaction. And because the Monero project prioritizes privacy, users can feel confident that they're using the most fungible cryptocurrency available. Moreover, full chain membership proofs introduce several impressive updates. These include forward secrecy, which addresses the emerging threat of quantum computing against privacy. Transaction chaining, which paves the way for developing certain payment channel protocols. And outgoing view keys, which enhance user experience for those accepting donations or monitoring organizations that do. Full chain membership proofs represent a crucial next step for Monero. For more information, visit getmonero.org today.
It is a very crucial and very, very exciting next step for Monero, and it's going to make it that much difficult to ever break, essentially. And Shane asked on YouTube, how many XMR should you hold? Well, that depends on you, obviously, but personally, I would always have Monero because it is the most powerful thing that you can own. You essentially own something that they can't even know that you own unless you tell somebody. And it is just very powerful. You can buy gold, you can buy a house or whatever you want, but they can identify that you have purchased that, and depending on where you live, they can confiscate it. They can obviously confiscate your Monero if they show up to your doorstep with a gun and they know you have it, and that's how you're gonna hand it. But they have no other way of seeing that you have Monero. And a couple of years ago, I was at Hackathon and I was discussing with a guy from Elliptic, I forgot the other chain analysis type company, and he said that they were never able to break Monero, and now it's going to be a lot more difficult. So yeah,
so one of the only things, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, that can actually be lost in a boating accident.
That's true. And Bitcoin hit 100K, but in a sane society, it should be actually the opposite. Monero should be out there. It's
Uncle
fungible.
Sam's coming for his juicy cut.
Yeah.
That's the only reason they let it go. They let it, it's allowed to exist to the extent it is because Uncle Sam gets his juicy cut every time.
Yep. And actually, since you mentioned that, I'm just going to go ahead and jump to this expose, which I've heard of as well, that France is going to tax Bitcoin unrealized gains. I'm not. I don't think it passed. I think it's going to. But if it is going to pass, then that's quite horrible. So yeah, you're welcome, Shane. So again, it depends on you. Me personally, I choose to have it because it doesn't matter how much you have, but one day, hopefully, you may never actually need it, but it's going to be there for you anytime. I come from an oppressive regime. Romania, we had communism, and Monero would have been invaluable. So I'm always going to have some, of course. And it just gets stronger and stronger and better and better. It's incredible. And I really do hope that the price is going to go up eventually, because then it's going to attract a lot more people, high net worth individuals to it. So, but yeah, let's go to this post. So it's a robot, and I think that's going to be the future. Now, instead of sending somebody to sell the drugs, you just send a robotic dog that's going to be a drug courier. But yeah, so in Moscow, the police detained one of these robotic dogs. It carried an advertisement for a store with illegal substances and the substances themselves in containers. After the cops arrived, which this is kind of funny, the robot suddenly turned off all the signal lights and went into self-defense mode, destroying internal information, including geodata of the route. So that's crazy, but yeah, I definitely think that that's going to be the future of what the drug lords are going to use. Just send some robotic dogs sending the drugs, and if the police catches them, then poof, erase data, and that's it. So I'm curious how they're going to handle that in the future. Now let's go to this house report. Big Brother is watching your wallet. We've been discussing this in the past, but essentially, let me see if I can find. yeah, it's quite scary. It's quite interesting, and kudos to the people that find this stuff, because obviously they don't make it public to the news station. They don't go and say, "Hey, we're watching your wallets and everything that you do." They don't. You gotta dig in to find this stuff. But yeah, it says right here on this executive summary that on March 6th, 2024, the committee and select subcommittee released an interim report revealing that federal law enforcement had used sweeping search terms like MAGA and Trump to target extremism. The report detailed how federal law enforcement derisively viewed American citizens, treating Americans who, and this is important, treating Americans who expressed opposition to firearm regulations, open borders, COVID-19 lockdowns, vaccine mandates, and the deep state as potential domestic terrorists. So, yeah, they are definitely watching what you do with your money. And in 2023 alone, banks handed over 25.4 million reports to federal agencies, flagging 4.6 million suspicious activities like buying firearms, booking DC hotels, or spending big bucks. Apparently, a weekend getaway or buying a couch could put you on their radar. The FBI ran 3.3 million warrantless searches of this data, and with 25,000 officials accessing these files, the government's watching your wallet like it's a Netflix show. Now they're testing AI and digital IDs to monitor your every move, making sure even your morning coffee isn't too suspicious. Yeah. So we've been talking about this, and actually we'll get into.
What this was. I kind of walked away for a second. This is where there was a congressional report that came out on how they're.
This one is from the U.S. House of Representatives about them watching your wallet and what you do.
Right. So there's a report coming out saying so. I mean, I want to look further into like who was on this committee. I mean, this is good news, right? That you have some congressional committee here coming out and pointing out the fact on how rampant surveillance is in finance, and how it's a breach of the Fourth Amendment. We need these same people, these same freedom-loving representatives that they claim to be, to embrace technologies like Monero, right? I mean that is the solution, right? They can try to create regulations or kind of deregulate in the banking sector, or they could point people towards tools like Monero and embrace those tools and essentially have them be viewed in the same light as cash, right? I think that is the solution. The U.S. government needs to move in that direction where Monero is viewed as cash in the eyes of the law.
Yeah, I hope that's going to happen. But it's interesting how they view you as a domestic terrorist when your interest is opposing their interest. Dom wrote on YouTube, "Don't show scary images during the weekend. Watch it for yourself. Thank you." Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, if I show too many negative stuff, especially in the weekend. I guess I'll try to include some more positive stuff too, throw them in there. As Shane said, has anyone noticed the banks are getting more difficult to work with, i.e. transact, fund? Yeah, I've been noticing it for a long time, especially I'm from Europe, and it's just a pain to send transactions to, say, family back home, or yeah, I hate banks, to be honest. I also don't have the best banks, so, but let's go to this post on X. In socialist Norway, everyone's tax returns are public. They just got published. Norwegian media proceeds to publish article about the wealth and income of people owning Bitcoin and or crypto, complete with lists, full names, birth year, etc. Completely insane, putting a target on the back of all these people, want and well. And we have here 2 images. It says tax lists. This is how much the crypto profiles earned the pyramid scheme. Several Norwegians made millions in cryptocurrency last year. And boom, I guess showing you which person made the most amount. God, that's wild. That's crazy. But with Monero, that's if you buy it on centralized exchanges, there will be able to know that you have it. So, try not to buy it from centralized exchanges, and then you're definitely not going to be on this list. But I can't believe it. Okay, let's go to this X post. I met Alex actually a couple years ago. He's a great person. He's a great guy. But the Dutch exit tax, and I think Canada has it as well, unless they took it off. But essentially, you're going to be taxed if you want to emigrate from the Netherlands. They propose a new exit tax for citizens who leave the country, which will cost you allegedly thousands of euros in tax. And you're going to be taxed for 5 years after leaving the country, expected into effect in 2025. God. And I think Canada's asking for, I could be wrong, but I think they were asking for 25,000. Last time I checked. I could be wrong, but Mr. 1024 Anderson, what the fuck, Norway? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. That's so invasive. Okay, let's go. Yeah, this the Monero node is so beautiful. Gabriel Custodiet posted testing out in Monero Nodo, an autonomous pre-built Monero node that looks just beautiful, that can do some serious work. Oops, I'm sorry. Let's go back. As evidenced by successful use of MoneroTopia, review coming soon.
Guys, the nodos are shipping, and we'll have them by Christmas. The nodos are shipping. We have a few people that we were trying to confirm shipping addresses with, just because it's been so long. If you're one of those people, please reach out on Twitter or in Telegram, or email us MoneroNodo.com. Please find us. Reach out to Abdullah. We just want to confirm addresses before we ship them all, but you will have your Nodo under your Christmas tree.
That's awesome. It just looks so nice too. The display is beautiful. Thin bezels. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is. It is awesome. And for me, the highlight with the Monero, with the Nodo, was seeing it working at MoneroTopia. We had 2 of them running, each connected to their own Starlink network, allowing attendees and the vendors to connect to the Wi-Fi on the Starlink, and then to connect to the same Nodo via their Cake wallet. And it really worked beautifully. I mean, we had lots of people connected to each. We had maybe 20, 30 people connected to each Nodo at least. It was fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. So Tuck sent me this one, and it's funny. Choose your fighter. Bitcoin devs, Turbo Autist, Andrew Poelstra, CIA agent Peter Todd, Monero dev, you have Turbo Autist, Luke Parker, Akao, Monero Moo, Zcash devs, TED speaker Zoko Wilcox, and it's a screenshot of his expose that we all know, in which he said, and by the way, I think we can successfully make Zcash too traceable for criminals like WannaCry, but still completely private and fungible. Sure. And also you have on the Zcash dev team, Load Bearing Catgirl, Daryl Hopwood, and then Monero devs, video game character Wario, some other people sometimes maybe. That's funny. Now let's discuss the final report. The Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic's final report is the most thorough review of the pandemic conducted to date. It's 500 pages, and we'll discuss 557. It's quite big, but we'll discuss the most interesting aspects of this. So, the COVID-19 origins. Let's talk about this. We were told that it may come from bats, all kinds of stuff, comes from nature. Well, according to this, COVID-19 most likely emerged from a laboratory in Wuhan, China. As we thought, the 5 strongest arguments are: the virus possesses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. Data shows that all COVID-19 cases stem from a single reintroduction into humans. This runs contrary to previous pandemics where there are multiple spillover events. Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research at inadequate biosafety levels, Wuhan Institute of Virology researchers were sick with a COVID-like virus in the fall of 2019, months before COVID-19 was discovered at the wet market. By nearly all measures of science, if there was evidence of a natural origin, it would have already surfaced. Next. And we provide all the links, guys, if you want to read more about this, if you want to check out the whole 557 pages. We're going to provide the links too. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's skip to COVID-19 vaccine. Let's talk about this one. President Trump's Operation Warp Speed, which encouraged the rapid development and authorization of the COVID-19 vaccine, was highly successful and helped save millions of lives. Now, let's talk about the COVID-19 vaccine, which, contrary to what was promised, the COVID-19 vaccine did not stop the spread or transmission of the virus. Now, guys, I'm not an expert in this stuff, so I'm just reading it off. Rushed COVID-19 vaccine approval. The FDA rushed approval of the COVID-19 vaccine, which I would say I definitely felt it. We all felt it. It was really fast. Especially since I think it takes like a couple of years for them to actually develop a vaccine. Again, I'm not an expert, but in order to meet the Biden administration's arbitrary mandate timeline, 2 leading FDA scientists warned their colleagues about the dangers of rushing the vaccine approval process and the likelihood of adverse events. They were ignored, and days later, the Biden administration mandated the vaccine. The mandates were not supported by science and caused more harm than good. Natural immunity. Public health officials engage in a coordinated effort to ignore natural immunity, which is acquired through previous COVID-19 infection, when developing vaccine guidance and mandates.
Oh, I see some cognitive dissonance in that image.
Yeah. Benjamin said on YouTube, I'm thinking about investing into this coin for the future. Well, you seem new, so welcome to our channel. Yeah, do your research. And personally, I mean, I used to be, just so you know, I used to be a Bitcoin maximalist. And then I read the Mastering Monero a couple of years ago. And once I found that not only Monero is fungible, private, but which is very, very good, is that you can actually use it as cash, because the more transactions we have, the lower the fees, which is very important for a cash-like, let's say, replacement, or just so you can use it as cash, plus many other things. Economic impact on COVID-19. More than 160,000 businesses closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That was a hard time to be a business owner, with 60% of these closures classified as permanent. School closures, it was tough. I have friends that were studying medicine. They had to do lab work, and they couldn't. It was tough. Oversight, compliance, and there was one more from this that I wanted to mention. It talked about the masks. I'm not sure if I can find it, but essentially it said that masks were, and the 6 feet and all the stuff were actually ineffective. So there's that. And then this is the document, 557 pages. If you want to read into it, we provide all the links. Moving forward, let's see.
I like how they said that Trump's Operation Warp Speed saved millions of lives, but at the same time, the vaccine was not effective in stopping the transmission or saving people or whatever.
It also said and it also mentioned that it injured some people.
Yeah, it's like they want to have it both ways. They want to be able to suck off Trump while also admitting that the vaccine do shit.
Yeah. Now let's play this video. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds. William Makis MD posted on X. I don't think the COVID-19 vaccine con artist will go away quietly. If this rant from Peter Hotez sounds a lot like a threat, that's because it is. Let's watch it.
Nicole.
And I think that's it on COVID, guys, and then we'll go into different stuff.
Here's the reason why we need to care about this stuff, Nicole, is that we have some big picture stuff coming down the pike starting on January 21st. Mr. Bloomberg mentioned H5N1. That I'm really worried about. It's all over wild birds on the western part of the United States and going up in the north. It's getting into the poultry. We're seeing sporadic human cases, no human-to-human transmission yet, but that could happen. It's in the cattle, it's in the milk, and that's just the beginning. We have another major coronavirus likely brewing in Asia. We've had SARS in 2002, SARS-2, COVID-19 in 2019, and we know these viruses are jumping from bats to people thousands of times a year, but there's still more. We know that we have a big problem with mosquito-transmitted viruses all along the Gulf Coast, where I am here in Texas. So we're expecting dengue and possibly Zika virus coming back, or a Puche virus, maybe even yellow fever. And there's more. Then we have all this sharp rise in vaccine preventable diseases going up because of, in part, the anti-vaccine activism that's so prominent right now. We have a fivefold rise.
The audio cut off.
21st on the Trump administration. We need a really, really good team to be able to handle this.
One thing that I'm going to mention is them saying in the headline that RFK is beyond dangerous in the government.
Why do all the health officials look like the most unhealthy people?
Yeah, I mean he looks decent, but yeah,
he looks okay. Most of the other people though look like they're dying.
Yeah, I think, remember when I showed a picture?
And he doesn't look great.
Yeah. Like I think we showed a picture of the Belgium Minister of Health, the Canadian. God, they look like the most unhealthiest people ever. Meanwhile, RFK is jacked and doing pull-ups and push-ups and all. Yeah, moving on. I'm really not sure if this is satire or if these people really believe XRP is going to reach $10,000, but it's 45 seconds and we'll play it and you decide whether this is satire or they're really serious. But
hit $10,000.
XRP definitely could hit $10,000. BlackRock is about to buy $9 trillion worth of XRP.
That's insane. Soulface, what do you think, bro?
Oh yeah, definitely 1,000%. XRP is about to hit $10,000, especially because of them going after the Swift banking system.
Okay, Gabe, what do you think, bro?
Without a doubt, XRP to 10 bands, and the reason is XRP has intrinsic value. Bitcoin doesn't.
Okay, Mark, what do you think?
XRP $10,000, no question.
Okay, cool. Luke, what do you think?
Absolutely. Wisdom Tree just recently filed an ETF. It's going to go berserk.
Okay, cool. Sage, what do you think, bro?
I think XRP could 100% hit $10,000 simply if they just take over the Swift banking system, which will put their market cap well over 1.2 quadrillion.
I really hope this is satire. 1.2 quadrillion.
It's amazing. Oh my god. Peak idiocracy. Just like we just keep breaking new ground here.
I think this is satire.
Same.
I really do believe.
Dude, it feels like 2021 and what was it, 2017 all over again. The previous bull markets. Now people are getting goofy.
If it's satire, it's kind of it's genius, but I don't think it's satire.
I don't know. I
because
hope so.
it is hilarious the way they. I don't think
funny.
it's satire, man. I don't think it is. I mean, I think it's people that are intentionally, obviously, trying to pump it.
Yeah.
I don't think these people believe it, what they're saying, but I think they're trying to convey it to their viewers.
Possibly. Yeah, but isn't BlackRock worth how much is BlackRock worth anyway? BlackRock net worth, let's see. It's 9 trillion. That's a lot of money. $11.5 trillion in assets. Yeah, for sure. They're gonna have 9 trillion just of XRP. That's
well, they're saying it will take over the SWIFT network, right? And then it's basically going to be the rails for all transactions in the world.
Well, if that happens, I'm gonna bend the knee and
not looking to Ripple whatsoever.
Yeah.
Your body could say something on that.
Let's move on. Let's see. Crypto lessons. So, crypto lessons from a $3.5 million scam. Charles Parks, the third, aka CP30, just pleaded guilty to a massive crypto jacking scheme. God, the bull market is it's back. Stealing 3.5 million in cloud resources to mine crypto like Ethereum and Monero. He spun up fake companies, tricked cloud providers, and laundered crypto into flashy buys, Benzes, jewelry, luxury travel. Reminder for investors: transparency is non-negotiable. The digital paper trail always catches up, and this ecosystem thrives on trust. Just looking, it's crazy how many scams have been in this space, and I remember the high yields like Celsius and other companies that promised high yields, and then they turned out to be scams. So many scams. Luna, God, yeah. Let's go to. Let's talk about Roger. Let's watch this 2-minute video. The title says, "This should terrify every American. This needs to stop." And it's 2 minutes and 45 seconds, but it's definitely worth it. So let's watch it. Let's see, Mr. 1024. This dude has such god awful OPSEC. Those fake companies, direct ties to his name. God. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, let's watch this video, guys.
But to break it down really quickly, when you exit the country and you exit, you give up your citizenship, you have to do something called a constructive hypothetical sale, which is that you pretend you sell everything you own in one day, the day before you leave. And the reality was that Roger owned such a huge percentage of the Bitcoins in the world at that time that if he had tried to sell them, the trading volume was, I think, $10 million. And so anything you sold over $10 million was utterly worthless. And so if the government's rule is, if you sold everything in one day, how much would it be worth? The answer is anything over the global market cap for that, for that asset is worth nothing. If everybody in the entire U.S. decided to sell their house tomorrow, would you get Zillow value? I think all of us know the answer to that question. So they essentially want Zillow value for everybody's home if everybody sold on the same day. That's what they're asking for out of Roger. So it makes no sense. But what it came down to is that Roger consulted the best tax accountants, the best lawyers in the entire country, hired the best possible team, and he told them, look, I know the IRS doesn't like me. I know I'm going to be audited. I know they will attempt to come after me. I need you to do this perfectly. I need there to be no mistakes. I need every T crossed. I need every I dotted. And that's all in the emails that he sent to the accountant. So we know that he wanted perfect compliance. And how do we know that? We know that because in 2017, they raided his attorney's office. Armed federal agents raided his attorneys, interrogated his attorneys, seized reams of documents from his attorneys and attempted to use them against Roger. And this should terrify every American because they're attempting to destroy attorney-client privilege using this case. If what you say to your attorney is no longer private, what chance do you have? What chance do I have? So this case should be horrifying to every American because it's about destroying your attorney-client privilege, and it's about destroying your right to rely on your accountant, your right to rely on your attorney when it comes to the U.S. tax code, that's 70,000 pages of which none of us can possibly memorize. And so if they do this to Roger, they're coming for the rest of us next. It's terrifying. But yes, the president can unilaterally decide to pardon Roger. The incoming DOJ could decide to drop the charges. And we fervently hope that one of those two things will happen because this lawfare needs to end. The incoming government needs to say, we've been the victims of lawfare. We need to look at everyone else who's been a victim of lawfare, and this needs to stop. Otherwise, our country has no chance. We as Americans have no shot unless this stops, and it stops now.
Yeah, that's a grave situation, guys. And hopefully in 2025, we're going to see Roger free. We're going to see Ross free and some other people as well.
So Roger Vere's sitting there on the video. Why can't he say anything? Is he not allowed to?
Yeah, he's not allowed to. He's
because it's a pending case.
He's got like a gag order.
That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy, right? Crazy. Well done on them. I'm getting the word out on this. Awesome that it's kind of getting a higher level of publicity. It's not just crypto people now. the meme is growing among, you know, the entire liberty loving community, right? That's out there. And I do think it's making its way to the Trump administration. They're seeing this. And she's making, I mean, like really, really, you know, valid points here. It's
But to break it down really quickly.
Oops, sorry.
It's not just about Roger Ver and, you know, evading taxes allegedly when he tried to properly leave the U.S., but it's the attorney-client privileges that the IRS just has ultimate power. Your, you know, Constitution just gets completely torn up when they want to come after you. It's insane. So I think we'll see under the Trump administration. I think we'll see him get freed. You know, Aaron Day, I think, is doing a great job getting the word out. Kudos to him. I guess he knows Roger pretty well from back in the day. It's nice to see that he's leading the charge there, right? They came after any one of us. I would hope there'd be rallying behind others. So it's nice to see that people have Roger's back passionately.
Yep.
What is unfortunate what we're seeing is that, you know, the broader like Bitcoin community just completely dismisses Roger Ver because they don't like him because whatever, he was a big blocker, or he's, you know, alleging that Bitcoin has been co-opted, right? Like it's like, really, you're gonna hold that his opinions to the point where now you're siding with the statist, and you think that Roger Ver deserves to be treated this way? Like, you've completely lost the plot. You forgot like what the war was all about, why Bitcoin was even invented in the first place, if you're rooting essentially against Roger at this point.
And as I remember, the community was quite toxic on X about this whole situation and Roger. So it's very unfortunate to see the Bitcoin community acting the way they did, and the way they probably still do.
Yeah, it just reveals the hypocrisy of what a lot of these people stand for, which is just number go up. That's all they've ever cared about, was whether or not their Bitcoin price goes up.
Yeah, Bitcoin definitely feels like a cult. It's just a very toxic, emotionally invested cult. And a lot of people are very emotionally and mainly financially invested. So it's a big reason. Let's discuss now Coinbase and the fact that if you use a VPN, you can be flagged. I'm not sure as of when, but essentially Coinbase last week flagging all crypto users as a high risk because of a few fraudulent projects is discriminatory banking. Coinbase this week, criminals use VPNs, so we flag all VPN users. Let's go to this help.coinbase.com site, and they say, why can I access my account on my device? Well, VPNs, ad blockers, security software, browser extensions, etc. are preventing you from accessing your account. If you have any of these enabled, try temporarily disabling blah, blah, blah. For uninterrupted account access. And they should also add for also flagging your account as high risk. If you want to get a centralized exchange, just don't get Coinbase. Coinbase is just ridiculous. Just don't get it. I've never had it. I will never have it. I will never recommend anyone having Coinbase. It's crazy. Let's move on to, let's see. Let's move into something called Z Ethereum. So after the win for Tornado Cash in the Coinbase funded lawsuit last week, Balaji Srinivasan proposed that optional zero knowledge smart contracts be made to add private transactions to Ethereum, which he called Z Ethereum. Let's watch this 1-minute video. And then I think we have one more video and a couple other stuff, and that's it.
Creativity. I will say that that regardless of whether or not the approach he lays out would ultimately pass muster, I think a lot of lawyers and non-lawyers are going to be studying this opinion for years and even perhaps decades to come, given the potential impact it will have on all sorts of open source projects and development efforts globally. that up until this point, up until this decision, were in peril as a result of the OFAC sanctions that were issued.
And that's actually a really good point, because another big win from this case is that we had heard that the sanctions had actually been chilling developers from basically building code and developing more privacy protocols or other critical innovation for crypto, because they were concerned that they would build code, deploy it, and then bad actors who they had no control over would misuse it and they would be held accountable. And I think this opinion actually gives them much comfort that I think they haven't had in a long time. So in that sense, that's another win from this decision last week.
But what does that really mean? Is that really privacy? If it's not private by default, I'm not going to use it because it's not really privacy, as we see in Zcash. They can just have a backdoor, turn it on and off for you, against your will, and that's it. Yeah, so for me, if it's not private by default, if it's just optional privacy, I'm good. Because if you advertise what you have to be private, I should pretty much trust it with my own life, that you're going to respect my privacy. And unless I willingly go forward with making public what I have, then nobody should just touch it or do anything about it. And that's Monero. It is you that comes forward to tell other people that you have Monero or how much. Nobody else can know. And these things, they can know. They're not really private. Okay, let's go to our last video, and then we have a couple articles, and that'll be it. This one is about the strategic Bitcoin reserve proposal as a bailout to the crypto industry. It's ironic because in reality, Bitcoin is the one that would be bailing out the US government, not the other way around. This is what Predator said on X. It's a 5-minute video. We're not going to play it all, but let's watch a little bit.
Reasons Democrats and Democratic regulators have worked hard to keep crypto, which has been supremely volatile, blocked off from the rest of financial systems, so that if it crashes, it doesn't bring the entire US economy down with it, requiring a bailout. Some rich people holding a lot of crypto disagree with that strategy. They want a bailout, implicit or explicit, if the house of cards comes crashing down. To that end, after Republicans took back the Senate with the help of money from the crypto industry, they now have a plan to return the favor. And I want you to listen to this part because no one's really talking about this, but the elements of the plot are just there in plain sight. Senate Republicans are working on a bill that would transfer billions and billions of dollars of money from the US government, from taxpayers, and hand it over to a handful of big crypto holders.
We got a present for President Donald Trump. Here it is. This is the Bitcoin Reserve Bill in the Senate of the United States to establish a Bitcoin strategic reserve, a network of secure storage vaults, purchase program, and other programs to ensure the transparent management of Bitcoin holdings of the federal government.
Yes, the Bitcoin Act from Republican Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming, it would establish a Federal Reserve of Bitcoin. It's truly one of the most audacious schemes I've ever seen in Congress. Here's why. Rich folks who own a lot of crypto have a problem, right? Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in particular, is a very valuable asset. Single Bitcoin worth over 100 grand. Some very, very wealthy people own hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. David Sachs, for instance, has a lot of crypto. That said, it's not a liquid asset like cash that you can easily spend or invest or use for practical purposes. It has no practical use really outside of a few gimmicks, and it's very useful for criminal cartels. So if you're an investor, you're sitting on this speculative asset. You can't actually do anything with it, but it's worth a lot of money. What's more, if you try to sell it all off, right, to get rid of it, the hordes of Bitcoin on the exchanges, that's going to flood the market and tank the price. So what's the solution? They're going to sell it to the US government.
Over 5 years, the United States will assemble 1 million Bitcoin, 5% of the world's supply, and it will be held for a minimum of 20 years and can be used for one purpose: reduce our debt.
Reduce our debt? You can't pay the debt down in Bitcoin.
Hey Doug, I think should I just play the rest? I really like this video. It's up to you.
Do it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, guys, it's 5 minutes, but I really think it's really good, and then we'll discuss it. It's very, very interesting.
Are you tracking this? Are you tracking what's being planned and announced in person here, right? The US government handing billions of dollars into the pockets of rich crypto holders? The plan is that the Bitcoin Act would have the government sell off some of its gold reserves, you know, the stuff from Fort Knox, and use
Sorry, guys, I'm going to stop it for 1 second. Mati, thank you so much for the donation. He said, thank you guys for spreading one of the most important messages. Oh, can you put it up again, Dux?
Yeah, it should be up. Is that showing up?
Most important messages for humankind freedom. Greetings from Argentina. Thank you, Mati. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
The money to buy.
And then we had one more. Sorry, I think we had one more super chat that may have been missed from Nihilist. Shout out to Monero marketing videos explaining the concepts that make it work for non-techies. Love it. Cheers. Yeah, Vosto, they do really cool videos. I agree. Thanks, Nihilist.
Yes. Thank you, Nihilist. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mati.
Current market value, that would cost $100 billion. Now, the actual price would likely be much higher because that market value would almost certainly rise as a result when a new buyer enters the market and boosts the price of the asset the buyer is now legally obligated to buy. This is an enormous heist. They're just backing the truck up to the government in front of all of us. A massive bailout to the crypto world. The opportunity to turn a speculative asset into real cash on your dime. And presumably David Sachs, as the crypto czar, will help usher that plan through. And there is a real irony here. For a long time, as long as I've been covering crypto, which is over a decade, advocates have sold crypto as this libertarian project, right? We don't need government. We don't need banks. We don't need financial intermediaries. We don't need regulation. Here's Sachs himself making that point on a podcast 2 years ago.
There is a huge risk of currency debasement when the government is in control, and particularly when you have the world's reserve currency. There's just such an enormous temptation to print money to finance your budget and to rack up loans that become unpayable. What Bitcoin offers is a different kind of currency where it's not backed by a government, it's backed by math, it's backed by encryption. And so you don't have to trust the government.
All of that lofty rhetoric goes right out the window, though, when Republicans decide they want the government to initiate a massive upward transfer of wealth and bail out the crypto industry.
Many points. If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you may totally shit on what he said and make a bunch of negative comments. Now, one thing that I am going to say, yes, Bitcoin is used by criminals, but I do hope, I mean, not that I do hope, but if you were, I definitely don't hope, but if you are a smart criminal, you would use Monero because that's obviously private. If you use Bitcoin, you're quite a dumb criminal. And by this, I'm obviously not endorsing criminals to use, or I'm not endorsing their activity at all. I obviously want them to be caught and punished for what they've done. If you use Bitcoin nowadays for your criminal activities, that's quite stupid. Again, definitely not endorsing criminal activity. But
define criminal activity. You got two tips over here.
We read that one. This one's no. Okay. Donald Fisher tip. This great show, guys. Thanks.
Donald, thank you.
Donald Fisher.
We saw Mati. Thank you, Mati. Nihilist.
It's an interesting take though. Overall, this guy's take is really funny. It's like the most, lefty take possible. Like, right?
It was not what I was expecting. I don't even know that guy.
Same. This whole situation, it just seems a bit scammy, especially with Michael Saylor gospeling to. I think
his analysis isn't incorrect. I think he's right, but ultimately, it's people being greedy and using their influence to get the state to do that. But we want that to happen anyway. Like it's still going to weaken the state at the end of the day. in the long run. I mean, well, all right. I mean, we could start to argue that Bitcoin is so co-opted that essentially it won't have the effect that we're hoping for. But yeah, that's a whole debate.
For me, it just seems like one of those high risk.
We need to see a congressional act where they're out there, some senator, someone's out there. I'm going to pass the Monero is Cash Act, right? Or call it whatever you want. But that would be the real breakthrough, right? That would be the moment to celebrate when the U.S. government comes out and says we're treating crypto like cash, right? We're treating crypto like cash. We're not treating it any differently. You have the freedom to use whatever medium of exchange you want to use. Sure, you still got to pay your taxes, just like was done in cash economies. But we're viewing crypto as cash. You're free to use it. Go forth. That would be the breakthrough moment.
Let us know what you think in the comments on YouTube. I'm paying attention to YouTube, or hop on the viewers on stage section, and let us know what you think. I'm really interested. Now, moving on, just got a couple, but we'll go through them a bit faster. I want to talk about the rise of extremism, first in Eastern Europe, but not only in Western Europe and even in America. So last week, talked about the Romanian election and how this candidate right here, he essentially, with the help of Putin and his friends, he became number one, and he was close to winning. We were going to have this weekend the last part of the election between him and another candidate, and I really hope that he was not going to win, but they canceled the election. And Tate posted that he said they want to arrest the number one presidential candidate in Romania for being on TikTok. Supposedly, he used TikTok for money laundering and to influence the population with Russian propaganda. Now, DCOT have opened a file on him. Any of this sound familiar? And maybe you've seen it on X, maybe you've seen it in the US on the news, and I want to just talk about it over quick, and then we'll expand again to the Western world. First of all, he did use Putin's money on TikTok, and if you were in Romania on TikTok, you could watch some cat videos, somebody making oatmeal, and you will see hashtag his name. It was extremely inorganic. His videos were absolutely everywhere. You would go on accounts, they would post just once with him and then never again about him. He publicly said that he spent zero money on the election, which is, for an independent candidate, that's outrageous. I mean, you have to have some spending, and he had millions of euros in spending. He had a lot of money from his friends, and I don't like what Tate said, because people are now saying, some people are saying and are watching these and say, he's anti-establishment, when he really isn't. He is one of those extremist people that said that there's knowledge in Russia. He's copying Putin. Putin was on a horse a couple years ago, on the white horse. He did it too. Putin was in a frozen lake. He did it too. Putin was doing judo, practicing judo. He did it as well. Just copying whatever he does. And also, he was quoting exactly from one of the dictators that we used to have, which is very frightening during our kind of fascist era, World War II, where we joined Germany because we were too scared to join Russia again, because we knew what was going to happen. And the people that we had at the time, they sent the Jews and the Gypsies to the concentration camps in Transnistria. And he said those are martyrs, those are heroes, plus a bunch of other. He said if you drink Pepsi, if you drink whatever, they have a bunch of nanochips that go into your body. His wife is as crazy as him. So he's not anti-establishment as they make him seem. And now we see something interesting, is that I didn't think that I was going to see a comeback of communism and fascism. I heard my family talk about it. I never thought that I could maybe relive it. And if this guy got elected on this Monday, now they canceled the election, it's going to be postponed until next year. I drove a couple hours just to vote, and they should have caught it way earlier. But yeah, it would have been horrible. Putin's strategy right now is to denatify and de-Europeanize neighboring countries to join him. That's what he's trying to do. That's what he did to Georgia. They were on the European path, and then they were swayed away. That's what they're trying to do with us as well. They try to take over us. They try to put the Russian boot over us for hundreds of years, and I don't think it's going to happen. They were free, but the most concerning thing is that the propaganda is so strong, and it's very important whether you're in the US or Europe to learn about communism, fascism, and what happened, because you can catch it. We saw extremist thinking coming in America as well, and it's certainly in Europe. We have AfD political party in Germany, and they want to get out of the European Union as well. And in a bunch of different countries as well. It's a danger. And also, this guy advocated for a dictatorship. He advocated for no parties, essentially, the dissolution of parties. So yeah, that's what happened with us. It's going to be postponed, and the reason why I wanted to bring it up again is because it seems to be this extremist thinking is on the rise again. And 2/3, so a lot of the people, 52%, voted. And out of those 52%, well, the other 48%, you should have voted. You really should have, because it was very important. Because now it's not only about the corrupt people. Now you have the rise of these extremist people. But 2/3 voted with extremist parties. So now we have 3 extremist parties that were elected, which is very concerning. And look what they're doing. They're commemorating Cornelius Delacodriano, which he used to be on the side of Hitler during World War II. And they're doing Nazi greetings and all these crazy things. And I know people that are actually, because they reject these things, and they go with all this misinformation. And for them, I guess for Christmas, what I'll give you is the Communist Manifesto and Mein Kampf, if that's what you want to have. And quick picture, that's Putin on a horse. That's that guy on a horse. It's wild.
He's a mini Putin operative.
Yeah.
It's a Putin operative.
It's very scary. To be honest, these were the 2 most stressful weeks of my life, because if he got elected, then I might have to do military, or might not be able to go back, because then I would be forced to do military. And if you just look, so we have Moldova to the right of Romania. We are part of the EU, whether you like it or not. It's not perfect, and I don't think it's perfect. And I'm not glorifying NATO and all these, and Germany and whatever. I don't, because they have a lot of crazy people and they do a lot of crazy stuff. But Moldova is now trying to join the European. Are they part of the EU? I'm not sure. I think they are. I think they're trying to join NATO right now. I think that's what they're trying to do. But they still have the Russian boot, and they're trying to sway away from it. But you can see, because they're not doing well. They're very poor, and they still speak mixed Russian with. So, and then this Germany with AfD, it's not talking about it directly, but AfD is one of those extremist parties in Germany. And Germany is in the heart of Europe. It's one of the biggest economies in Europe. And this organization was to just get out of the European Union. It's insane. Quickly, Georgia police is very brutal, and they're beating and shooting and massacring everybody in Georgia, because they were going the European path. And it's the same strategy that they've done in Moldova, in Georgia. For us, same. This one party or individual out of nowhere comes and wins somehow. Same propaganda and same all this stuff. So if you see it on the news in America, this is essentially what's going on. And
yeah, it's hard enough to figure out what the hell's going on here, let alone these other countries. That's the problem, man. It's all charades and psyops coming from both sides, and we're just stuck in the middle, right? So I don't know.
For the past couple of months, I've been reading more history about just the beginning of each country
Get the
of the
people
US.
get the people to opt out over there in Romania, man. Get them to opt out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we need to do all over the world, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
So
peace tip 25 cents. The European path, aka NATO membership, is what plunged Ukraine first into civil war, then into war with Russia. Listen to Dave Smith or Scott Horton. Romania should remain neutral. It's a good point. It's a good point.
yes, because Putin sees it as we're expanding the NATO into his territory. But for me, I still think Putin is a very intellectual but psychotic individual, to be quite honest. But he's very, very intellectual. He's very strategic. But I don't want to deal with Russia anymore. Never again. So
I tend to agree with Scott Horton's analysis of things. He's on top of these concepts. But yeah, I don't know, man. And you're living it. You're living the actual real world effects of it. So thank you, Tony. Appreciate your perspective on everything, and thank you for the news as always. Fantastic job.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And I wanted to say we have 300 people on X. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. 53 on YouTube. And again, helps us a lot. Just like, retweet. We're at 10K, and hopefully soon we're gonna celebrate 100K and so on. So yeah, thank you, guys.